the fighters. Look at Deontay Wilder's face. There is no markings on the side of his face. But at the end of the fight, the dent side of his head. Now, I don't know what kind of magic tricks y'all know over there. That's a tall feat there, brother. I know.
Those are the words from a guest that came on Barbershop Conversations, a good friend of Barbershop Conversations. And he had Javon Sugar Hill. I don't know if this was the same interview. I think maybe this was another segment of the interview that Javan conducted. Now, what the quote-unquote pastor, the friend of Barbershop Conversations, what he said was, that Deontay Wilder, he was fine when he came into the ring. And after the fight, he revealed that he had a dent in his head. So he's addressing the dent, okay, or the strangely shaped dent, let's say that, to Javon Sugar Hill. So let's see how he replies to this particular guest.
It's tall, but that's I think that's too tall for him.
Okay, so you said watch the beginning and watch the end, and I stated that I saw a picture where it was circled, so I didn't watch it from the beginning. I didn't see it at the beginning and see it at the end.
Yeah, I want you to watch the video. Forget the pictures, right? Videos. It's hard to tamper with a video. I ain't saying that videos can't be played with, but when you talk about injury that was sustained in this fight, ain't nobody going in there enhancing no video for that to happen.
So, this guest said something, rather his point. He was saying, "Hey, forget the photos. Look at the video, because the video will show you that, hey, clearly there is a object in his the way it was shaped. Okay, let's say that the way it was shaped, the way his head was shaped, that's what it was. And see, I got to add that Javon Sugar Hill came out at his own admission and said, well, I never seen a dent like that. Okay. He said that. Now, when you say that to someone that believes a certain way, that alerts suspicion naturally. But it just also shows that Javon Sugar Hill is not hiding anything. He's not denying anything, or not over denying, meaning he's not denying to the point of covering something up. Okay, so when people do that, like Mauricio did, which made it so shitty, okay, and let me counterpunch that. When he did that, it made everyone more suspicious. You guys know when I interviewed Tay Jones, he was saying that Mauricio never went in the dressing room, but Mauricio said, well, hey, I was in both dressing rooms, but he didn't say verbatim, and this is the politician in him, he didn't say verbatim, I was there when their hands were wrapped. He let people think that he was there just so people wouldn't be suspicious, like that other portion of people were already suspicious. He didn't want to bring more suspicion to the table. Okay, so it is something to make you go, well, wait a minute, this, or wait a minute, that. You know what I mean? Why did Mauricio do this and Mauricio did that? However, okay, knowing what we know, it was bad to see that type of cover up, and again, coming from a politician, that's what they do. They cover up shit, and I don't know why he said that he was there and he wasn't there. Okay, I could understand that leading to suspicion. And that really was the bulk of that interview that Tay Jones was really coming in which we agreed upon. We agreed on, like, he shouldn't have said anything if he wasn't there. If he wasn't there, he should have just left it to the commission. Okay, the commission of the WBC that made sure, or the Nevada Athletic State Commission, let them be the judge of that, because that's what they do. He's not an expert in anything anyway. Since he's not an expert anyway, he wouldn't know what to look for or whatever. That's what the trainers are for. That's what the commission's for. And if the commission misses it, then the trainers should get it. If the trainers don't get it and the commissions don't get it, I mean, what can you really go on? Counterpunch. You see what I'm saying? So Yeah, he lied. I believe he lied. I think he's full of shit on a lot of accounts. But to say Javon Sugar Hill was in on something, or JD's was in on something, I think basically what people need to understand is if you're going to come at this man for trying to do this or doing that, understand that man has the right to defend himself. That's what Javon Sugar Hill was there for. He was there to clear up anything, to listen, to observe, and to report. You know, him being a fellow or former officer should know how to do that quite well. And this is what he had to say. So let's move forward.
This actually happened in the fight. You got the doctors who was willing to back that up and said that this was a blunt object that caused type of injury. It was not caused by some hand in glove attack. That don't happen.
Where did this blunt object come from? The doctor is saying this is a blunt object. Is he some kind of an expert on this?
No, let me just finish.
The doctor is saying this is coming from a blunt object, and then they're gonna say it goes back to me personally, wrapping his hands, gauze, doing everything that I always do. It goes back to that. So I mean, how can you sit there and say it comes from a blunt object? A blunt object that's not a knuckle, or some kind of a metal object, or whatever they're saying out here. I don't know.
Okay, so again, this is what we have. Okay, you can speculate all you want. You can say what Marcelo said that a doctor said in an autopsy, which is, you don't say use those terms, and that's what made people laugh at the whole notion of the thing. He should have at least used the right rhetoric when explaining, like, look, in examination, Deontay Wilder had a, weird looking shaped abrasion or swelling that didn't look like it could be something like a doctor. Now, a doctor would give his opinion. Okay, a doctor would give his opinion like, oh, that couldn't have been done by it couldn't have been done by a fist. It had to be a blunt object besides a fist. You guys look back, if we go down memory lane, there were two heavyweight fighters, one by the name of Evander Holyfield and the other by the name of the former undisputed heavyweight champion, Hasim Rahman. If you guys remember that fight, when Holyfield once again head-butted another fighter, which was Rahman in this case, and he made his head look like a fucking anvil. If you don't believe me, look at the fight. Go back and look at the video. It looked like he hit him with something. Yeah, he hit him with his head. That was a blunt object, but that didn't have to be something that was made out of metal. That was bone that hit him. That was his head that hit him. Okay? So when you're dealing with someone saying, well, hey, you know what? This possibly couldn't be the case. This couldn't be a fist of this nature. It's hard trying to say what it ain't when you don't have what it is. Does that make sense? Let me see if I can say that again. It's hard trying to say what this ain't when you don't know what it is. Okay, because that's like, hey, well, the missing factor. This is the missing factor of these accusations. What people don't realize about this. The missing factor is if they, how they're comparing that to Louis Resto and Billy Collins. Margarito and Cotto 1 and Margarito and Mosley, right? And they're comparing that through association. They're comparing that to, and they want you to, they're giving you a comparison of those two fights compared to the Tyson Fury Wilder 2 fight. And the one main element that they're leaving out, which this would have had me, right? Because it's all about evidence with me. And this is what they did not find. Okay, there was always a huge hook, line, and sinker piece of the evidence of what they needed, right? That they did not have. They don't have. And as this man, Mr. Pastor, stated forget about the pictures. Well, no, you can't forget about the pictures because the pictures was what made Glovegate too. It wasn't nothing else. See, the doctors have had this and shown it couldn't be this and couldn't be that. But the one thing the doctors don't have is what the hell he had in his gloves if he had anything. They don't have anything to go on. That's why it's going to be hard as hell to prove that Tyson Fury cheated Deontay Wilder when you don't have that piece of evidence. You know what I mean? I'm not the smartest person in the world. You don't have to be to understand that. I'm not the dumbest either, by far. However, compare those to the other two. Louis Resto Collins. What did we have? Gloves that knowing they was tampered with, right? The trainer felt the glove and seen, yo, what's up with these gloves? Because they were tampered with, right? Therefore, hey, take a look at this guy. Don't let him get away. Take them gloves off. Let's examine these gloves. Oh, these gloves are not regulation. Then that began. Cotto Margarito. Now, Cotto Margarito was interesting because it did have him with the gloves off and how his wraps were, and they were swollen and they had cracks in them. Okay, now that was after the fact, which is understandable because I know they went after the fact and looked back at the first fight of the Fury fight. However, okay, that wasn't enough. There was no knowing that was bullshit because you could see with your clear eye that something was up with your wraps, not how the way your glove looked at a certain spec or a picture shot. No, the way the fucking wraps looked, it was a still shot of this man and his gloves were it was swollen and he had cracks in it. Okay, because that plaster of Paris, okay, swells your wraps up, and it gives you a harder foundation for your punches. That's why he was able to cut fucking Cotto's face up. But Cotto's face would not be enough evidence. You see what I'm saying? You'd have to have the other piece, which they could see that wrap didn't look right, but they didn't know what was in the wrap because they didn't catch him at the time. You guys understand that, right? I'm breaking the whole evidence down right now. Whereas Margarito Mosley, we found the evidence. Okay? So until we know and see or find, like, oh, new evidence, guys, I found it in Dante Boxing Nation's inbox through Instagram. I didn't check it earlier, guys, because I have so many. Well, unless you have something that looks like evidence, that's tangible, that, hey, the gloves, hey, something in the object, like the plaster of Paris, like the lack of cushion that was in the Resto glove, you don't have shit. It's hard to believe, and that's why people don't really give it much weight. Sure, it sells. Sure, it's selling the next fight. I get that. You know what I mean? Because, hell, it makes you want to see if Tyson Fury can do it again now, since people have made such a fuss about it. So bravo. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, you're saying to this man that, hey, it was something in his gloves, and this man, Javon Sugar Hill, is telling you that no, his trainer looked at the gloves, he looked at the wraps, he watched me put them on. I don't know what else to tell you. And you know what? That's that. There's nothing you can add to that. There's nothing you can, you know what I mean? Now, if these doctors or whatever, hey, well, let's look at this and let's show you how this, because even you would still have to have the evidence to compare. Like, look, if he had like an egg weight, and see, that's something they shouldn't have said, because what's going to happen if it gets nasty, understand this, people, if this really gets nasty and Tyson Fury's team decide, well, let's dig deep. What did Wilder did? What did he say on camera that they can use as evidence? Anything social media you can use as evidence, people. You know that, right? So what'll happen if and when Deontay Wilder decides, or Tyson Fury decides, like, well, didn't Wilder say he had an egg weight, or I had an egg weight in his gloves? He accused me of having an egg weight in my glove. See, that's defamation of character, because you're saying something that you can't prove. If they could have proved it, they would have done it. You see what I'm saying? Like, oh, well, that's what it is. No, Margarito couldn't get tried. That's why Cotto, okay, went back and showed Antonio Margarito after he got caught and said, yo, you cheated me too. And let me show you how your raps looked. Wasn't it the problem with Margarito's raps? Of course it was. He did the same shit. The only question is, how many times? These are facts, people. And he was saying, oh, pero tú no tienes nada. You know, all that bullshit. And he said that those gloves, I've never seen gloves that look like, I've never seen raps, that look like that. You know what I mean? So this here, where you have Javon Sugar Hill on Barbershop Conversations answering questions, is a sheer sign of leniency, okay? Openness. You know what I'm saying? Now, if he didn't want to talk or discuss anything at all, then you can say anything because he don't give you anything, but he's giving you what he knows. But you know why he's doing that, right? He's doing that because he is the person that's being accused. He, in this case, is the Panama Lewis in this case. Panama Lewis was Louis Resto's trainer. So he's speaking up for himself. This involves him. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think about this particular interview. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.